Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. If you've ever ignored a gut feeling and later wished you'd ripped it out and examined it under a microscope, yeah, this one's for you. She packed the blue suitcase. Not the gray one with the broken wheel, not the carry-on that never zips quite right. The blue one, the big one. The one that says, "I don't know when I'll be back, and I'm not planning to miss you." She folded her clothes like she was filming a travel vlog. Neat, methodical, humming something upbeat while I stood frozen in the hallway like some forgotten coat rack. There wasn't even a fight. No screaming. No passive-aggressive sarcasm or slamming doors. Just her favorite lotion, 3 pairs of leggings, 2 books she's never finished, and silence. "Just a weekend," she said, tossing in her essential oils pouch like it was her passport. "To explore myself." She said that. Explore herself. Like our marriage was a cardigan she tried on at a thrift store and wasn't quite sure about. She kissed the dog goodbye. Not me. I don't know why that part keeps looping in my brain. But it does. She rubbed behind his ears and said, "Mama loves you," in that ridiculous baby voice she always used, and then she walked past me like I was invisible. I nearly said something. I almost asked, "Who are you going with?" But I was scared of the answer. So instead I asked, "Do you want me to water your plants while you're gone?" She didn't even turn around. Just, "If you feel like it." By the time her taillights disappeared down our cracked driveway, the house went quiet in a way I've never heard before. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just a vacant. And that's when it started. The doubt. The whispering furniture. The accusing kettle. Her slippers still by the door like she might change her mind and come back in. I stared at them for 10 minutes before I finally picked them up and threw them in the closet. Slammed it shut. The echo sounded like betrayal. At 3:42 p.m., I opened her laptop. I know. That was wrong. I know how that sounds. I wasn't trying to spy. I wanted to prove myself wrong. I wanted to see an Airbnb booking or a Pinterest board about solo hikes and healing crystals. I wanted to find innocence. Instead, I found a Google Doc titled, "Things I'll Say If He Asks." I opened it. The first line was, "It's not about you. I just need to breathe." The second line, "Don't make this dramatic. It's just a weekend." The third line stopped my breath cold. "He'll be fine. He always is." I shut the laptop so fast it made a thud. The dog looked up at me. Even he seemed to know something was off. And right then, I realized this wasn't spontaneous. It was scripted. She planned this. She practiced it. She packed for it. And me? I was just a line she hoped wouldn't interrupt the performance. I didn't open the laptop again. I didn't need to. That document told me everything I wasn't ready to admit. And still, I did nothing. I wandered the house like a ghost that didn't realize he'd died. Her perfume still lingered in the bathroom. The mug with the little fox on it, her favorite, still sat by the sink, half full of cold chamomile tea. The bed? Perfectly made, not by me. She always made it before she left, like a ritual. Like she wanted the house to look pretty in case something happened to her. Or in case she never came back. I kept checking my phone, telling myself I wasn't waiting for her to text. Just keeping an eye on the time. That's all. At 7:08 p.m. she posted a story. Not to her main feed. Just a quick video. A fire pit. Laughter in the background. Someone clinking a wine bottle against a glass. And a voice, male, low, casual, said, "To new beginnings." You couldn't see his face, just the sleeve of a flannel shirt. But I knew it wasn't mine. I watched it 4 times. New beginnings? Was this what she meant by exploring herself? I opened our text thread and typed something 3 times, deleting it each time. I tried, "Are you okay?" Then, "Did you make it safely?" And finally, "Who is he?" But I didn't send any of them. Because I knew. I already knew. I wasn't supposed to ask. She had rehearsed for this. Planned for my confusion. Anticipated my sadness. It was built into her script. And my role? Quiet. Predictable. Forgettable. The man who never demanded too much. The man who wouldn't cause a scene. So I played it. I washed the dishes. I fed the dog. I folded laundry that wasn't mine. I stared at her bookshelf, wondering which of those self-help paperbacks taught her how to ghost a husband while still technically being married. Then I went into the garage. And that's when I saw it, the second suitcase. The gray one with the broken wheel. It was gone. She had packed it too. She didn't go away for the weekend. She left with all her options packed. And I was just now realizing I'd been written out of her story completely. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed. No, my bed now. Staring at the ceiling, tracing the faint lines of the plaster cracks like they might form answers if I followed them long enough. Every creak of the house felt like a betrayal. Every distant car sounded like it might be her returning. But she didn't come back. Of course not. At 3:17 a.m., I finally opened my phone and clicked on her story again. The fire pit video. I turned the volume up this time. I listened past the obvious things. The crackling wood. The background chatter. And there it was at the very end, just before the story cut off. Her voice, low and relaxed, said, "You're such a bad influence." Then a man laughed. It wasn't forced. It wasn't innocent either. It was the kind of laugh you make when you know you've already crossed the line. I didn't sleep after that. I just got dressed and sat in the car. I don't even remember grabbing my keys. My hands moved on their own, like they were tired of waiting for my brain to catch up. I drove around town. No destination. Just me and the hum of the engine and my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The roads were empty. The city didn't care I was unraveling. At 6:42 a.m., I pulled into the old diner we used to go to on Sunday mornings. The kind with greasy menus and cracked booths, and a waitress named Carol who called everyone sweetheart. She still worked there. She asked where my wife was. I told her, exploring. She nodded like she knew what that meant. I think she did. I sat in that booth and stared at the empty side across from me. I realized I didn't miss her. I missed who I thought she was. That version of her that used to scrape the whipped cream off her hot chocolate and give it to me. The one who made bad puns and danced barefoot on the tile after 2 glasses of wine. That person hadn't come home in a long time. Maybe she died quietly, while I was busy pretending everything was fine. I opened her friend Emily's profile. The one who always overshared. She had posted a photo a few hours earlier, them at a mountain cabin. All smiling. But in the back corner of the photo, reflected in the glass door behind them, was a man in a flannel shirt with his hand on someone's waist. I zoomed in until the image blurred. It wasn't her waist, but it was her reflection, facing him, smiling. I stared at that blurry reflection for too long, my thumb hovering above the screen like I was about to call her out, as if she'd suddenly confess, apologize, explain everything away. But I didn't send anything. I just sat there in that diner booth, cold coffee in front of me, heart stuck in a rhythm I didn't recognize. The picture was still up hours later. No edits. No second thoughts. Like they weren't even trying to hide it. And maybe that was the point. Maybe I was supposed to see it. Maybe this was her silent announcement. A soft launch of her new life. No big fight. No tears. Just phasing me out like a product that didn't fit the rebrand. I drove home without really seeing the road. The garage door creaked open like it was disappointed to see only me. The moment I stepped inside, I smelled her shampoo again. Not strong. Just enough to remind me this house was still haunted by the woman I used to know. I walked upstairs, into the bathroom, opened the cabinet, and there it was. A second toothbrush. Blue. New. Not mine. We don't buy blue toothbrushes. She always bought pinks or earth tones. I pulled it out like it was evidence. Because it was. A brand I didn't recognize. Placed in our bathroom drawer like someone had been there recently. Like someone else had stayed the night, or maybe a few. I wish I could say I was surprised. I wasn't. I was just numb. I dropped it in the trash like it might bite me if I held it too long. Then I opened the guest room closet. I don't even know what made me do it. Maybe I hoped I was wrong. But tucked behind a stack of old holiday blankets was a hoodie I didn't recognize. Not hers. Not mine. Men's size large. It smelled like cheap cologne and sawdust. I didn't break down. I didn't scream. I just sat on the bed, holding that hoodie in my lap like some abandoned dog toy. And that's when the truth clicked in. He had already been here. Before the trip. Before the story. Before the blue suitcase. She wasn't exploring herself. She was replacing me in increments. And the scariest part? It was working. The hoodie sat at the edge of the guest bed like it belonged more than I did. I don't know how long I stared at it, but something in my chest began to twist. Not sharp pain, more like a slow crushing. The kind you feel when you've run out of excuses. I grabbed my phone, opened the photo gallery, and started scrolling. Not looking for something specific, just hoping the past might offer a clue I'd missed. And then I noticed the gaps. Photos were missing. Our anniversary dinner from March gone. The hiking trip in May where I thought we reconnected vanished. Even a random Tuesday afternoon selfie I took of us on the couch while she was half asleep. No longer there. Dozens of memories, all deleted. Not by accident. Not by phone glitches. I never touched them. She had gone into my phone and erased them like she was scrubbing the walls before moving out. And still, part of me wanted to believe this wasn't what it looked like. That maybe she just needed space. That maybe this was her way of processing something. But what kind of person deletes the moments you thought were sacred? I needed answers even if they tore me apart. I went into her office. She kept a paper calendar pinned behind her desk. Always said she liked writing things down to feel grounded. I flipped through it. Meetings, dinner dates, yoga classes. But then, in the weeks leading up to her trip, there were little hearts drawn next to random Fridays. A smiley face with sunglasses next to a Wednesday. And one word scribbled across the bottom of a weekend square. Away. No initials. No context. But it wasn't for me. It had been happening longer than I thought. I was the last to know. Probably always had been. The doorbell rang. I froze. No one visits unannounced. Not here. Not at this hour. I tiptoed to the window and peered through the blinds. There was a package on the doorstep. No delivery van in sight. Just a plain brown box. No label. No sender. But the handwriting on the sticky note taped to it? It was hers. I didn't touch the box right away. I stared at it like it might hiss and bite if I got too close. The sticky note was crooked. Stuck to the top flap with one edge curling in the breeze. Her handwriting was rushed. Uneven. I hadn't seen it like that since the time she backed into a mailbox and left me a panicked apology note before I got home. This one said only 3 words. Didn't know how. Didn't know how what? To call? To end it? To say goodbye? I bent down, picked it up, and carried it inside like it was made of glass. I set it on the kitchen counter, staring at it while the dog watched me from his spot under the table. He wagged his tail twice and then stopped, like even he could tell something was wrong. Inside the box there were no clothes, no note, no jewelry, no big dramatic letter explaining everything. Just stuff. Personal, random, quietly devastating. A keychain I gave her in college. A crumpled photo booth strip of us at the state fair 5 years ago. A necklace I didn't even know she still had. A sealed envelope with my name on it, and inside that, get this, a printed copy of a Spotify playlist. No explanation. Just music. The title of the playlist? Hard Truths. I stared at it like it would burst into flames. She didn't give me a conversation. She gave me songs. I clicked through the list on my phone. The second track was called Some Things Don't Belong Anymore. The fifth was When You Love Someone Who's Already Gone. The final song? We'll Never Be Us Again. It was like she was breaking up with me via mixtape. And here's the worst part. I listened to all of it. Every single song. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by relics of a life that no longer existed, letting someone else's lyrics do the talking for the woman I married. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream. But I just sank to the floor, back against the fridge, and cried like I hadn't in years. I must have sat there for over an hour, silent, numb. The songs played on loop. And then my phone buzzed. A new text, from a number I didn't recognize. It read, "She told me you'd already figured it out. I just wanted to say I didn't expect it to get this far." No name, no photo, just that. And in that moment, I finally understood the truth I'd been avoiding this entire time. He wasn't just a fling. He was her exit plan. I didn't reply to the text. I just sat there, gripping the phone like it might deliver a second message with a punchline that would somehow make it all make sense. But no, just that one sentence, sitting on the screen like a quiet bomb. She told me you'd already figured it out. What a neat way to dodge responsibility. If I already knew, then maybe he didn't have to feel guilty. Maybe he thought this was cleaner than it really was. Maybe she convinced him I was fine, functional, ready to let her go. But I wasn't. I saved the number under the name Coward and threw my phone across the room. It bounced off the carpet and slid under the couch. I didn't go after it. I didn't want to read his name if he texted again. Or worse, if she did. Instead, I stood up and went back into her office. Her laptop sat open now, like it was daring me. I don't know if she left it like that on purpose, or if I'd left it open myself. But the screen was on, and the desktop was clean, too clean. No clutter, no files. Just one folder in the corner titled January. It was September. I clicked. Inside, screenshots, receipts, photos. One of them stopped me cold. It was a selfie, her and him, taken in our kitchen. Our kitchen. Same wallpaper, same ugly fruit bowl I begged her to throw out. And on the fridge behind them, a sticky note with my handwriting. Buy dog food. Love H. That meant I was home. That meant I had just stepped out. Maybe to the store, maybe to the garage. And while I was gone, she brought him in, smiling, cozy, like I didn't exist. And the strangest part? He looked normal. Not some smooth-talking gym trainer or younger version of me. Just a guy. Flannel shirt, crooked smile, soft eyes that didn't match the betrayal. The kind of man you wouldn't notice in a room until your life fell apart because of him. I closed the folder. I didn't need to see more. I'd seen enough to know she didn't stumble into this. It wasn't a spontaneous affair. It wasn't a crisis. It was structured, designed, and lived in. She didn't leave me for excitement. She left me for comfort. For someone who didn't challenge her lies, because she fed him curated truths. And me? I was left with reality. Quiet, cold, real. I didn't tell her I knew. I didn't call. I didn't send a final text or ask her to come back and explain herself. There was nothing left to explain. Every question I had was already answered. Not in words, but in silence, in reflection, in receipts, in the songs she didn't have the courage to sing out loud. So I didn't fight to be kept. I packed a single bag, fed the dog, and left the house before she came back. No drama. No final argument. No tear-stained begging at the door. Just a note on the kitchen counter where her playlist used to be. It said, I deserved the truth, but I'll survive the lie. I drove 3 hours without stopping. Booked a tiny Airbnb cabin by a lake with spotty Wi-Fi and no television. The owner said it was quiet this time of year. That's exactly what I wanted. Quiet. Not the kind that swallows you whole, like the silence I'd been living in, but the kind that makes space. The kind that lets you hear your own voice again. And somewhere between watching the wind ripple across the water and letting the dog chase leaves along the shore, something in me began to unstick. Not all at once. Not some magical movie montage of healing, but a slow, quiet shift. I started cooking meals for one that didn't feel lonely. I started sleeping through the night without dreaming of her face. I started writing again, not texts I never send, but actual writing. About grief. About erasure. About rebuilding. And I smiled. For real, not just to convince people I was okay. You don't always get closure. You don't always get justice. Sometimes all you get is the chance to begin again without them. And when you do, take it. Don't wait for the apology. Don't wait for the confession. You already lived the truth. And now you get to live your life. Thanks for listening to my story. This has been Reddit Confessions, and now I want to hear from you. Have you ever realized too late that someone was planning their exit while you were still trying to build a home? Tell your story in the comments. We read every single one. And remember, healing isn't loud, but neither is strength. Sometimes walking away quietly is the boldest thing you'll ever do.